Tell me something. ¿Tú eres bueno o estás bueno? O las dos cosas. Hola, soy Alejandro de KeySpanish, and in this lesson we're going to tackle the difference between bien and bueno. We're going to start with the English translation of these two words. We're going to then look closer into when to use buen and in the order of these words. Buena persona, persona buena. We're going to see what is more common or preferred. And then we're going to see other uses of bueno. And in the end, the most challenging, tricky, but interesting part is bueno and bien with the verbs ser and estar. So let's get started with just translating to English bien and bueno. Bien could be translated as well. It's an adverb that tells us how we do something. So, John habla bien español. John speaks Spanish well. I'm sure you have heard estoy bien, right? ¿Qué tal? Estoy bien. ¿Y tú? How are you? I'm well. And you? So bien translates as well, quite straightforward. There is another use of bien that is common in Latin America, not in Spain. In Spain, we would not say that, but in Latin America, they can say, or in some areas of Latin America, they can say Carlota está bien guapa con ese vestido. Carlota looks very pretty in that dress. So está bien and an adjective could mean also very in Latin America. Now, on the other side, bueno would be good. So el español de John es bueno. John, Spanish, is good. As opposed to bien, which has this one form, bueno changes according to the gender and number. So it would be bueno, buena, buenos, buenas. So el libro es bueno, la novela es buena. Los actores son buenos, las películas son buenas. So make sure that you agree with the noun in gender and number when using bueno. Therefore, we have bueno as good, bien as well. And if we want to say Sergio es un escritor muy bueno, we would say Sergio is a very good writer, but Sergio escribe bien, Sergio writes well. So far, quite straightforward, right? Bueno, good, bien, well. Let's do some practice activities and remember to do them with me, okay? No seas vago and answer out loud. If we want to say he's a good singer, he sings well, how would you say that in Spanish? You can pause the video and think about it if you need to. And the answer would be es un buen cantante. Canta bien. Let's do one more. Sergio teaches well. How would you translate that to Spanish? Would be Sergio enseña bien. If, however, we want to say that Sergio is a good teacher, how would you say that? Sergio es un buen profesor. Or Sergio es un profesor bueno. Notice that we have two options here, buen profesor and un profesor bueno, which brings us to the next point. When do we use buen? We use buen before a masculine singular noun, like el profesor. Instead of bueno, then if it's placed before the noun, we shorten that to buen, okay? And that brings us to another question. Which one is the more preferred way of saying it? Buena persona, persona buena. What is the order? Well, my intuition as a native speaker tells me that buena persona is much more common, and generally speaking, placing it before the noun, buena is much more common. But I checked on a corpus, which is a database of language that shows us the frequency of words, and it's also showing the same thing. Buena persona, 10,000 instances, persona buena, 700. Now, not all the cases are as clear, right? In all the nouns is not as different, but in most of them, I would say placing buena or buen, bueno, no bueno, buen, before the noun is much more common. Therefore, you could say that Pau Gasol es un buen jugador de baloncesto, and it will be much preferred than saying Pau Gasol es un jugador de baloncesto bueno. Again, the second one is not incorrect, strictly speaking, but is much less common. It's not very natural. If, however, interestingly, you add muy to it, it sounds much more natural. It sounds perfectly fine. Pau Gasol es un jugador de baloncesto muy bueno. And you could also say before, es un muy buen jugador de baloncesto. But generally speaking, just prefer to use buen before the noun. Okay, so far we have covered bien and bueno in more general cases, right? Like estoy bien, I'm well, but soy bueno, I'm good. Also the order, buena persona, persona buena, much more frequent, buena persona, and remember to agree bueno, buenas, buenos, buenas in gender and number. And we shorten to buen when it's before a masculine noun. And now I want to quickly share two other uses of bueno. And the first one is to express some doubt, some hesitance to your agreement. So, for example, you could say, ¿Quieres ir a la montaña? Do you want to go to the mountain? And if you're not very into that idea, you can say, bueno, prefiero ir a la playa. So this, bueno, quite common to express again some hesitance, it's really not what I want. And the second use, quite interesting that I didn't know, to be honest, is that this is the way some people answer the phone in Mexico. So they would say, bueno. And that's, I think, only in Mexico. I haven't heard that anywhere else, at least in Spain, I'm sure we don't do that. But it's interesting to know that you can use that to answer the phone too. And let's finish with one use case of bueno and bien that gets a bit more confusing, and is with ser and estar. And we are going to start translating it is good. And it is good could be es bueno, está bien, está bueno. Es bien would not be an option, right? Es bien is very strange. There's one case in which you can say that in the sentence es bien conocido, es bien sabido, it is well known. In that construction, you can hear that, but other than that, is not something we would say. So it is good can be either es bueno, está bien, está bueno, and that is where the confusion comes from. And we're going to break down the good of it is good, the use of it is good, with two scenarios. The first talking about food, and the second talking about people. With food, you can say las verduras son muy buenas, meaning vegetables are very good for your health, meaning in the health sense of it. So when we say that es bueno for food, or algo es bueno, son buenas, generally we will mean that it is good for your health. If, however, you say something like la pizza está muy buena, then you are referring to the taste of it. The pizza is very good, it is tasty. I'm enjoying the flavor, the taste, I'm enjoying eating it. But probably la pizza no es buena para tu salud, pero está buena. So healthy would be es bueno, está bueno is more regarding taste when talking about food. One more use of ser bueno with food is referring to the quality. So el aceite de oliva de España es muy bueno. Spanish olive oil is very good, as in it has very good quality. So with food, ser bueno could either mean that it's healthy or it's of good quality. Estar bueno would be generally regarding the taste. So in a restaurant, if you are asked, ¿está todo bien? ¿Todo a su gusto? Everything okay? You could say, yeah, está todo muy bueno. Everything was very good in the sense of enjoying the food. And one more use would be to say that it's okay. So la comida está bien, pero es un poco cara. So the food is okay, but it's a bit expensive. So when something is not great, but it's not terrible, you could say, está bien, it's okay. I hope that's clear, and now let's jump into the last part of it, which is, it is good when referring to people. And here the difference is between nice and hot. So Francisco es muy bueno, siempre me ayuda. Francisco is very nice, he always helps me. When we use ser bueno, is to be a nice person, right? To be helpful, to be just nice. If, however, we say that Tomás está bueno, me encanta su bigote, Tomás is hot, I love his mustache. Now we are referring to his attractiveness, he's hot. Or it would be está buena if referring to a woman. I will let you decide which one is Francisco, which one is Tomás. But that's an important distinction. And remember to say to someone, está bueno, estás bueno, estás buena. It's a bit direct, so reserve that to very specific situations when you know what you are doing. It's not really to say you are attractive or you are beautiful. No, you are saying you are hot. So it's not appropriate in most situations. But that's an important distinction. So ser bueno with people would be to be nice. estar bueno, to be hot. I hope you found this lesson on bien versus bueno useful. If so, please dale a me gusta and give it a like. It really helps, it means a lot. And if you want to continue learning Spanish, you can check our lesson on por and para, which is another quite challenging topic for students. And I will see you in the next one. Soy Alejandro de KeySpanish y nos vemos en clase.